Anyway, to proceed, the first item on the agenda is a public comment, and I don't have any cards or anything like that, so I don't see any public comment. Then the next item is for my report, the chair's report, and typically what I tell you about is what transpired at the last board meeting. And when I went through the notes from the last board meeting and rewatched it, they covered a number of the same things that we had covered here, and a few additional. They beyond what we had in terms of like the direct connect expansion, they had several other items as well. But I don't think things like audit reports and so on that I don't think really need to get covered at our meeting. But one thing that they did talk about is Cassandra presented the information on the regional transit improvements and the expansions on the 100X and the 300X. And they had a number of the same kinds of questions at the board that we had here in terms of, if you get to, if you add the airport onto the route, how does that change the timing and so on. And I know several of you had some thoughts on that. And I know Cassandra's done quite a bit since then, so you wouldn't mind telling us what?
Right. So since then we have had a number of days we've gone out to talk to the 300X riders just to see how the change would affect them. We've got a number of emails from them as well, asking to keep certain things for them. We've been able to look at the schedule and try to get as many trips into the airport as possible while still preserving a couple of key express trips from the park and ride to downtown. So I know that Derek, who's a regular 300X rider, has been very engaged with us, and thank you, Derek, for your help, not only getting out and getting people interested in taking the survey and helping us actually deliver the survey and administer that, but then also for all of your comments and your help in kind of putting together what we think is going to be the final package as part of our June service change. So we're still trying to work with the airport, and I know the marketing department has a lot of work to do in terms of reaching out to people who will now be able to use the service because it does go to the airport. And so I think we have found a good compromise position, a good balance, and Brad was a big part of that, making sure that we could make that compromise happen.
Oh, no. By the way, Derek, weren't you not on Bay News 9 over that as well?
Well, it was something completely different.
Was it something different?
That was
Flamingo, that's right.
Yeah, but I would like to say I really appreciate it. Sometimes when you come to this board, you're really not sure how much input you're going to be able to provide, but I feel like y'all made a very good compromise, actually listening to the riders, so I really appreciate it. Cassandra went way above and beyond, so thank you very much.
Good, thank you. Nothing really else from the board meeting. I had asked Mr. Miller, I know he's had a couple of trips this month as well, so.
Good afternoon, everybody. So yes, we, of course, about a month ago, we went to Washington, D.C. on our legislative advocacy trip. PSTA, the bus system that we all enjoy riding, very heavily relies on funding from both the state government in Tallahassee and the federal government in Washington, D.C. Pretty much all the buses that we all ride on are paid for by the federal government. When you go to any other city in America, all their buses or trains are all paid for by the federal government. So it's very important that we make trips up there to talk to them, talk to our own congressmen and women and senators, as well as others who are in political power, to tell them how important the service is. And they very much appreciate hearing from people that are not from Washington, D.C. And so that trip actually I don't know if we can take personal credit, but we can maybe, because then almost like a day or two later, Congress amazingly approved a budget, and President Trump signed it, that does significantly does maintain and actually a little bit increase the amount of federal money for transportation, all kinds of transportation, roads, transit, ferry boats, etc. So, and there was proposals by the administration to cut transit, especially very substantially, that Congress, because they had heard from us, didn't do. It was really great. And so we're going to keep doing that. And then the other trip I just got back from last week with Ross Silvers. Yeah. He's not here. Who is our mobility manager over our DART program. I presented to this committee last month some of our data and how we compare to other transit systems around the country. And that group gets together 2 times a year at one of the different cities that are in the group. And so Ross and I spent most of the week in Des Moines, Iowa, which is not nearly as nice weather as it is here in Florida. And this is like a winter that just never stops up there. But this was on our paratransit program, which is DART, what we call DART. It's funny because the bus system in Des Moines is called DART. But anyway, we provide DART. Maybe everyone knows this. We provide DART because of the Americans with Disabilities Act. The federal government requires every public transit agency, every city that provides what we call fixed route buses or our regular bus system, in order to receive federal funding, every city has to provide what's called complimentary paratransit. For people that cannot use the regular bus because of a disability that they have, they must be provided with an alternative mode called paratransit. And for 40 years in St. Petersburg and then the whole county, it's been called DART here. And so the benchmarking group gets together to compare how we do that. Unlike the regular buses, the different ways cities provide paratransit are very different from each other. Some use taxi cabs to provide taxi cabs and wheelchair accessible vans like PSTA used to do. Some have their own little fleet of buses that they operate to provide this wheelchair accessible buses. Some are like us, where we contract that with Care Ride, and they provide it. So it's all over the place. I can say PSTA has a pretty high usage of DART compared to our population. We have also one of the more older populations, so that kind of dovetails with that. We are the lowest cost operator, just like we are on the regular bus. Care Ride does a great job in being very efficient. And last thing is that we are a little bit different than lots of the other cities. There's many other cities that you go to that have a very rigorous or very intense application process to qualify for riding the paratransit. Some make you fill out an application like we do and get a doctor's note that confirms that you have a disability like we do, but some go way beyond that, where they do a 3-hour interview with you, and then they make you go to they have whole facilities, like in Salt Lake City, they have a whole dedicated facility where they have you go and they test you and stuff. We don't do any of that, and there's other cities that don't do it either. But I think that those are sort of interesting comparisons on our DART program. So I'll give you an update when we go to the fixed route one, which is going to be in lovely San Bernardino, California. Next fall.
Well, thank you very much. Very interesting. I wish I'm sure a lot of you probably feel that way. I wish that I could sort of teleport to these meetings and hear, because it's very interesting. I think we all become transit geeks, and so
Yeah.
information for us.
That's
Of
interesting.
our, no, but I think we become more transit geeky, I think, when the longer we're on track. So those of you who are new to this, you have that to look forward to. So, okay, thank you. Our next item on the agenda then is the Forward Pinellas report, and Mr. Kumar just arrived in the
time.
nick of
And I
time.
apologize for running late today, thank you. I was going to say it was heavy traffic, but it just started late. Yes, thank you. It's always an honor to represent TRAC on the CAC. You guys know the Citizens Committee for Forward Pinellas is the overall umbrella group that used to be the planning agency. They do both land use and, along with transit, parks, waterways, all of the road development. And that's what happened last month. I was there again 3 weeks ago. You're all invited to come, just like this. There's always public places, and they are looking particularly for a representative. If any of you have friends, neighbors, nephew or niece who lives north of Curlew, it's always hard to get someone to come down and for an evening meeting from Tarpon. I mean, they want to go almost, I was going to start going door to door up there knocking because they would love to have that kind of representative. We meet at Court Street, right downtown Clearwater, on a Thursday night. But yeah, so anyway, I sent out emails.
The board has a representative from Tarpon. It might be worth checking with
Yeah. David Banther?
David Bamford.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
because sometimes the board members are pretty good at sort of scaring them.
It's beating the bushes, yeah.
Exactly.
So, but they have I believe four open seats right now. So, a couple people, any of you that are interested in that higher level, bike paths, parks, trails, the Pinellas Trail, all of that stuff, along with transit. So, one of the presentations we got this last month was from PSTA about the buses, and it was. So I won't bore you with that. But the main one we got, which was great, was about US 19 and a long presentation about that. And US 19, I don't want to get on my soapboxes. I'm very mad about it. I live a mile from it. I watch businesses go out of business over it. But it has been being cut back. I don't know if you guys know that. The original plan way back when was for it to be capped all the way almost to Weeki Wachee. And over time, it is, well, the folks up north said, gee, that's kind of, I don't like that. And that's been working its way south, that it's only going to be island, with turn lanes and lights to the to the Pinellas line, and now Tarpon Springs has said, well, see, these overpasses are nice, but maybe, and now Palm Harbor, it's come all the way down to Tampa Road, has been talking about, gosh, we've seen what happened to the people who live in Safety Harbor. Maybe that's a little too much. Maybe we don't want a freeway running right through our town. And so it's been kind of neat. Because these guys are 20 years, they're looking 20 years out, all of these projects, when you're looking at a piece of land, say the corner of Tampa Road and 19, they're looking at it in terms of an engineering design at this day and construction on that day and land acquisition. So they're looking at it that way. But then when you're looking at a road from Clearwater to Weeki Wachee, they're looking at it in time this way, and so it's very interesting that they have a booklet this big that's just Excel spreadsheets of every curb cut, bike path, gallon of paint, when, who's going to pay for it, is that city or county or unincorporated, and I'm very impressed, and I think you guys would too, to know how much control, and then who's paying for it. Is it taxes ad valorem? Is it coming from a federal grant? Anyway, 19, they did a lot of stuff with the dangers, pedestrians, bicycles. We talk a lot about where did people get killed, how many people got killed, what was, I forget their official word, the mortality or the morbidity or whatever it is, but it really comes down to how many accidents were there and where they went here and north of this and south of Gandy, north of Gandy, north of Tampa Road. And were they hit in the middle of the block or the south of the block? How many people were, while walking, while running, while riding, wearing shoes, not? I mean, it was very interesting to know that people are watching that stuff. And that's why I'd invite you guys, if you're interested in that kind of stuff, to come and get involved. It was great. We got an app run. By the way, I'm going to miss next month because I'm going to the Congress for New Urbanism up in Savannah. And I promised to take the buses while I'm there. And that is also a group like that who was involved in what we see, the complete streets in St. Pete, the new funding that's going on in Dunedin and Clearwater. That's that movement at a national level. So I'm tagging along, and I put as my business model that I'm a TRAC member, a transit activist, and a citizen activist for transit. And so going representing, waving our flag there at the Congress for New Urbanism in Savannah.
Cassandra is friends with the manager of the Savannah system. She can hook you up.
Ah, fantastic.
Oh, cool.
You mean like that front seat right in the bus?
Yes. Catch a cat, yeah.
Anyway, the way
Chatham County.
you mentioned St. Pete with the Complete Streets, I guess Clearwater is now putting together a Complete
Yes.
Streets program,
Yeah.
because they called me and I'm gonna be on their
Oh,
advisory
excellent.
committee for that too, so,
Good.
you know, we can get involved in all different ways, where we live as well as the county. Thank you.
Good.
Okay, the first action item is, I need to find out if you have any comments or questions, if you've all had a chance to review the minutes from our last meeting. If there are no changes, I would hear a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Then the next action item will be a presentation by Henry Lucchese.
Good afternoon, TRAC members. My name is Henry Lukasik, and I am the Director of Maintenance here at PSTA. And for those that are new, my primary role is oversight of both fleet and facilities, so all the buses and everything that doesn't have wheels on it. So as you heard Brad mention earlier, PSTA has an obligation to make sure that we facilitate transportation for everybody, inclusive of those of the ADA community. So all of our buses are ADA accessible, meaning they all have equipment that allow mobility for the ADA community, such as the ramp that provides for easy boarding and exiting, to the specialty securement areas with straps and restraints for those folks in mobility devices. If you've rode the bus over the past several years, you've probably noticed that we have, since 2015, done some upgrades to specific areas for ADA equipment. We view this as a critical importance to our buses. So we've upgraded flip-up seats and restraint systems, tie-down areas. We've added additional barriers. And over the past couple of years, we have gone and done preventative replacements for the wheelchair ramps in the front of the bus to make that boarding and exiting easier. So all of that is by the successful applications that we apply through our federal government through a specific program called the Seniors and Individuals with Disabilities Capital Assistance Program. And each year, PSTA picks a project and we write a application with justification. And so far, we have been very successful in achieving grant funding to support these projects that you see happening. So this year's project that we applied for in 2017, we were notified that we were successful in being awarded $200,000. And the project that we selected was to continue replacing the wheelchair ramp assemblies in our buses. So with that sum of money, we should be able to purchase another additional 20 new ramp assemblies, which we will install in the buses over the period of the next 6 months. So as an aside, with all of our projects combined over the last couple of years, when we complete this project with another 20 more, we will have a total of 84 buses out of our entire fleet of 201 that will have wheelchair ramp assemblies that are less than 2 years old. So that's about 42% of the fleet. Now, less than 2 years old is an important number. The average life expectancy of those wheelchair ramp assemblies is only about 6.5 years. So keeping on top of the replacements keeps them in what we like to call a state of good repair. And what that really means for the user is that they are reliable. When you need them, they work. And that's our goal. So the action item before you today is to recommend approval of a contract with Gillig for the purchase of wheelchair ramp assemblies for a total not to exceed of $200,000. In your packets, we have a little fiscal impact section which shows that how this funding will break out. As I mentioned before, the bulk of this funding will come from the Federal Transit Administration's program, in addition to some assistance from the Florida Department of Transportation, and also a smaller component from our local funding. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
In this write-up, it says a response was received from Gillig. Were there any other people who put in a bid?
No. The purchasing department sent out the solicitation to multiple possible vendors, and Gillig was the only one to respond. When only one vendor responds, we do a cost analysis, and we also buy these particular components as not part of funding, but over the course of our own year. And what we found was that the price that we were paying is in line, or what we call fair and reasonable, with the quote that was received from Gillig.
Okay, thank you.
So PST only has to put up $20,000? Is that correct?
Correct.
And this PSTA, is this already in the budget already, or is this something that they're gonna have to do a shift on?
Debbie Lee is our CFO.
I knew she was back there, that's why I asked.
Actually, we had not anticipated getting this award, but we certainly have room within our budget for the $20,000 match. Whenever we put applications in, I usually have to do some sort of letter or as part of the application attesting to the fact that I have the money to be able to accept the award.
As a rider in a wheelchair with a unique wheelchair, nobody else tilts like mine does. So I noticed that improving the ramps is a good thing because some of the ramps dip and I have to hang on. I have to make sure I'm tipped up enough to go down that slope. So I'm imagining the new ramps will be even, straight. Drivers will drop it very good, and I tell them, this is great, it's like my kitchen floor. It's nice and straight and no up or down. And yesterday, in fact, I like the driver. He's a gentleman, he remembered where to hook on the front, but he drove pretty crazy, and that's all I could do, not to call up and say, he was on this chair, it will tip. And apparently other chairs don't tip with the stop and go. And if I could review again with somebody, and I've reviewed it before with the safety person, I think his name is Mike, the strap, when it hooks to the chair, really isn't effective when the chair tips. And also, I'm hanging on.
Elizabeth, why don't you bring that up with the people
Yes.
after the meeting, but relative to the ramps?
And you'll tell, should I talk to Mike again?
Actually, if after this meeting,
Yes.
I have representatives from both transportation and safety here. We'd be happy
Oh,
to
good.
go
Oh,
over
right
each
there.
one of
Okay, thank
your
you.
particular situations.
Yay. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And I had one other quick comment too, because it's interesting. I also do care very much that the ramps be operational. There are several times when you're like, is this one going to actually even go down? I know. But it's interesting to me that the ramps have to be sort of looked at as a separate item compared with the bus. I mean, wouldn't you think that buses would be designed so that all the parts would have the same kind of a life expectancy, or that be part of the norm?
As a maintenance director, I share your thoughts. Yes.
Okay.
A bus is made up of many different subcomponents, each
Yeah.
with their own different life expectancy. The air conditioning system, the braking system, suspension.
sure.
This is just another subcomponent. Each has its own different life cycle based off the amount of use it goes through. So knowing that this particular one from the maintenance perspective is, again, I'll repeat myself from before, is critical importance. That's why we pay special attention to these and make sure that this equipment is kept up to be as reliable as it possibly can.
Good, thank you, thank you. Okay,
Yeah,
any other
it
comments?
says in 2016 that you got 50,000 and were able to replace 10 wheelchair ramps. That's 5,000 per. And you're getting 200,000 and you're only able to replace 20. So it's costing $10,000 instead of 5,000. So just the cost of the ramp go up.
Well, we budget $10,000 per ramp, just to be all-inclusive. So if we do find that there are better efficiencies as we're going through and maintaining them, then we will be able to purchase more ramps, but that's a budgetary figure. We were able to purchase 10 at 50,000. We're estimating it's 10,000 now. As you can see, the prices came in a little lower. So if we're able to purchase 25 or 30 for that same 200,000, that's what we're going to do.
I ride the bus, but I don't use the wheelchair. Sorry. But I noticed that some of the people that want to get off the bus, they use the ramp. At the bus stops, there's no area for the ramp to go down, so they have to go further down from the ramp, from the bus stop to get on the sidewalk. Is there a way that can be part of the fix?
Yes, if there's a specific location that you...
There's many
Okay.
areas.
I'd be happy to take that list down. On the other side of the house, both the facilities department, we also have a department called the amenities division, which works together with safety and security, transportation, and planning, where we do look at stops that need what we call a landing pad or an access pad or even a sidewalk or curb cut. We do that countywide. So if there's a specific group of places that you're looking, we can certainly jot those down and take a look at them.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions?
I do. I found using the ramps on a regular bus really hard being in a manual wheelchair. It's a lot easier for you all because you like to wheelchairs. How are you going to make it easier for people in manual wheelchairs? Because I know a lot of people in manual wheelchairs use our care ride because they can't use regular buses and regular wheelchairs. It's hard to get on regular buses. And I know it seems like you've told me that I should ask the bus drivers to help me. Any other ideas to make it easier for people in manual wheelchairs?
That's true.
I'd be happy to sit down with you after this meeting specifically and talk with our transportation and safety division.
Yeah, I mean, it was tough. I mean, I did the video earlier this year. It was hard for me to get on the bus in the manual wheelchair. I know it's easier for you all because you like to wheelchair.
Well, I think it's exactly what you were talking about before too, about the landing pad, because there are a number of, if it's a really sharp incline down, I can see where that would be a problem. And you know, like exactly what you're saying, sometimes if it's a sharp decline getting off, it's dangerous for every wheelchair to go down. But if it's on a landing pad, it tends to be more on a single level, and I think it would be, if you were to use the regular transit, I think knowing the stops that had landing pads would make a difference too. Okay, are there any other comments or questions? If not, then I would entertain a motion to recommend the approval of the contract with Gillick for the purchase of the wheelchair ramp assemblies for the total cost not to exceed $200,000.
Yes.
Are you making that motion? Elizabeth's
Motion.
making the motion. A second?
I'd like to second the motion.
Okay, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, now the next item is regarding our Gold Star Transit Award. And Cindy, I believe, has an update based on the information which all of you, I think, have received.
afternoon. I am Cindy Raskin-Schmidt. I'm the Director of Communications and Marketing here at PSTA. And you all had the great idea of introducing an award program where you recognize bus stops and bus stop facilities that are of superior quality and accessibility. So last month, your group reviewed the proposal of how it would work, an application process with some criteria where you could identify and nominate a business, a municipality for a particular bus stop, or a person could self-nominate. And then the idea was that those applications would go through a preliminary review to make sure they met their criteria. It will come back before you on a recurring monthly basis. If you hopefully get that many applicants, it'll be a regular part of your meeting, and you all would review and approve and designate the Gold Star Award. So today what we wanted to do is just share with you, everybody should have gotten in their packet the application form and the criteria outline. So you just want to go through those today, and I'm just going to facilitate your conversation as we go through these and make sure this is reflective of what it is that you all have envisioned. The next step after this, once we have this piece ready, it'll go back to my team in the marketing department to work on some graphics for you, to come up with what that gold star seal or whatever it is ends up looking like. And then you'll have an opportunity to take a look at that. And then the eventual idea is for this to launch and start taking first applications and nominations over the summer, probably in July. So if I can ask you to go to the page that has the bullets on it, that is your criteria. I'm just going to kind of go through these, and if there's any questions, comments, concerns as we go through these, we'll just have you direct them to Gloria, and we'll make notes and update as we go. So the first one is your applicant could be a nominee. The applicant could be a nominee, be referred by a member of TRAC, or be nominated by a member of the public or the private sector.
Can they nominate themselves?
They can self-nominate, yes.
Okay. Should we say it that way, that they can be nominated by any of these people, or they can apply independently?
Yes. Marianne's going to take notes of all of your comments and will reflect those. Yes. That could be a little clearer that you can.
This could be desirable enough that people would actually
Yeah.
seek us out. I don't know that would happen, but.
You know, I think it will. I think it will. One of the things that my group, the marketing group, in addition to the graphics that we'll work on, is a media plan to try to get what's called earned media as opposed to paid media. So we'll try to get news reporters interested in this, try to get one of them to tell the story. If you all are Bay News 9 fans, Chuck Henson's a huge supporter. He's always talking about public transit, so he's definitely somebody that we'll reach out to and tell him about the program. So hopefully somebody over there will help us talk about it in the public and get some people excited. So yes, it does say applicant can be a nominee, but I think that could be clearer, so we'll make that note. Your second one says superior or improved public transit access to or from a bus stop, transit center, or connection to route, which may include paved and marked pathways to crosswalks and nearby establishments, inclusion of transit accessibility, and the construction codes and plan design of a new establishment. So basically, I believe what this is saying is you have a business that has made an improvement to their existing property, or has facilitated an improvement, or if it's new construction, they are looking at that accessibility as part of their initial building plan.
One of the things that we talked about too is the idea that sometimes it's a combination of having the town set some guidelines, new guidelines. That's what happened in Oldsmar, and the developer actually doing what the town asked for, or the reverse is what happened, I know, in Clearwater, where the city recommended something, but because it wasn't in their absolute concrete rules, business chose not to do something.
Right.
I mean, are we clear enough in what we're saying here to cover that?
Do you all feel that it's clear enough?
Well,
perhaps not.
The
Since
fourth
Gloria's asking a
bullet,
question.
the fourth bullet addresses the collaborative effort.
Oh, okay. All right, so maybe let's jump to number 4 then, and maybe we can rearrange these to do a better storytelling. Nominee must have made a specific effort to construct or upgrade access to a bus stop, transit center, or connection to route from their facility or within their municipality. Extra weight will be given to nominees who demonstrate a collaborative effort with a partner agency or municipality in achieving the improvement.
Could it be that, besides extra weight, that basically that awards can be given to a combination the town and the municipality, like, again, if we talk about Woodland Square, that the city of Oldsmar and the developer that did that would share that award?
I think it's probably a good idea then, so that the nominee could be multiple entities for one project.
I think
we should designate that.
Yes.
So then that leads me to the question, can someone get a Gold Star Transit Award just for passing like a law in their town and regulations?
I would love to see that. I don't know, to have the engineering requirements now be different. I mean, again, I don't want to be the only one talking.
Great
Yes.
idea, because
That was your stuff this whole time.
I worked with Pinellas Park, but that thing about they do the least possible, if they change the rules, then there won't be a least possible anymore. It'll hit what the law says or what the requirement says.
Right.
And go that low, but you can't go lower. So yeah, that would solve that problem.
So would you all want to add a bullet point here that said that a nominee could be a municipality
Absolutely.
Yeah.
who takes a special effort to maybe,
Change the rules.
we might need some planning department help with language here, but
Facilitates the improvement.
change their codes, their development codes to be more supportive of public transit and public transit access, something like that?
You could say, I was thinking you could say something like municipalities or cities within Pinellas County who make changes for the forward progression of better transit within the city can be nominated as well.
That was great. Pull that off the tape.
Who's got that?
Forward progression, that was
Mary
good.
Ann.
Yeah, Mary Ann's taking the notes.
We have time.
I'm sorry, you were also suggesting perhaps that the person, as long as it wasn't a PSTA person, maybe be recognized in some way, even if they're not part of the city.
Oh, yeah, if you had like a city staffer or you had an elected official who was your champion, so would you, yeah, absolutely. Or track member.
Or do we want to keep it very narrowly focused on specific projects? I guess that's kind of what I'm interested in. Do we want it to be on very specific things, or we want to have a kind of a broader net to catch people with?
I think from a public relations perspective, you want a wider net so you can recognize all kinds of people and projects and properties that are making this positive effort towards improving public transit access. I mean, obviously, ultimately, it's your initiative, and you all should make that decision, but, earlier on in this process, we had talked about doing an annual awards recognition program, and we decided against recommending that to you because that's really limited. You have one first place winner a year, and that's it. You all really want lots of places to have this sort of recognition to strive to get the Gold Star standard. So you want lots of people to be looking at that and not be too narrowly focused. So that's from a PR perspective. I think you're gonna get more play and get more people moving in that forward progression, like Mark said.
So maybe you need to change your first line to say something more along the, like a nominee can be an individual, a municipality, or a business that, promotes blah, 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 what I said before.
Right.
Yeah, I think you need to change your first line to say that it can be a person, it can be an entity, it could be a government agency. I don't know what I'm leaving out.
Developer.
Yeah, I thought I'd cover, I don't know if that would be covered in entity, but yeah.
Or any combination thereof.
Right.
Yes.
Sandra just mentioned something to me that I think is she was talking about having almost like classifications, like a Gold Star
Person
or municipality or property or.
I mean, you could have layers. You could have levels. APTA does a sustainability program where you go in at a bronze level and you meet certain bronze level criteria, and you work to get silver and gold and platinum. You can have multiple layers. And if that's something that you all would like to do, it'll take you a little bit longer to implement because you'll have to have stratified criteria.
I think that would be harder because getting them to do even the minimum amount is hard, but
well, maybe you start with the gold, and if you have somebody who does like way super above and beyond, I mean, it's your award. You can create a platinum if you want to for somebody.
Well, maybe sort of save that for later.
Or phase two.
Sort of thinking out loud,
Yeah.
like we sort of went down the path of Gold Star project. So maybe in the interest of getting something rolling and not waiting till it's perfect to release it, is maybe you all think of how would we do this for a Gold Star project, and then the next phase of the expansion is what are the criteria we're gonna set up for, if we're gonna say, you're a Gold Star city. And then if you say, okay, we have this person that has been real active, like the Gold Star Honor Award or
Advocate,
something,
yeah.
right? Yes, the advocate, or, you know, I'm thinking, just thinking out loud, like
Yeah.
what the things that you could do that sort of, just to get started, because we don't wanna wait too long before you
Oh,
get
exactly.
to stand up at a city council and congratulate somebody
Oh,
about
yeah.
their project, so.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, in fact, one of the things that because in the beginning you talked about bus stops or transit stops, and it's really less about the stops, it's more about what happens when you getting to the stops. How do you, or getting from the stop into the store, because that's where we've encountered all the problems is about, not at the stops themselves. I mean, stops can be a problem, but that we just call PSTA and say if we have a stop.
Well, and that brings up a great point. So you all know Ross Silvers, our mobility manager. He reviewed this, and one of the things he noticed, the third one here, said about a sidewalk and pedestrian path with 7 feet vertical clearance and no obstructions. He made the point, which I think is pretty valid. He said, this criteria isn't necessarily the most critical for accessibility. That's pretty kind of a regulatory thing as far as sidewalk widths. And he said, you know, true access is more, he called it holistic. He said, for example, a bench underneath an awning of a business with a sign that says bus riders welcome will matter more to a person with a disability than if the sidewalk has a crack in it. Kind of drawing that parallel. So, you know, maybe on number 3, that number 3 item with the 7-foot sidewalk could be finessed a little bit to be a little more encompassing than just very specific 7-foot sidewalk. So that was one of his observations. I'm sorry, Gloria, behind you, Mr. Schulman is raising his hand.
Mr. Schulman, hi.
Hi there.
By the way, I didn't say to everyone, this is our board member, Josh Schulman.
Hi all. Just a quick question, not to be nitpicky, but I think it's worth mentioning and having the group decide. When it comes to the municipality award, is a city that is not a member of PSTA able to win the award? So I mean,
Are there
if
cities in the county that are not members of PSTA?
There are.
Oh, like
St. Pete Beach.
St. Pete Beach.
Treasure Island, the city.
Bel Air Beach.
Bel Air Beach.
Opted out way back then.
So I wanted to, before we get something to come back to this group, I at least wanted this group to judge that criteria. Because you could say, you know, Kennett City makes great strides in helping their residents connect to the bus system, even though they're not part of the system. Or you could limit it to just municipalities.
Do they? Because if they make it easier to get to the bus system, then their residents may still be riding the buses, even though they're not necessarily. They don't. I mean,
I just wanted to ask the question so you guys could decide what you'd like, and then that way it doesn't come up
So
later.
to be clear, like PSTA obviously serves those municipalities anyway.
Not all of them, some of them.
Right.
Some of them
Doesn't
we
stop
do.
in Bel Air anywhere.
Yeah, like St. Pete's Beach,
Doesn't
obviously.
stop all the way.
Yeah.
Stop.
And I took the bus out this morning. You know, so I know from a rider's perspective, you're still getting on a PSTA bus in St. Pete's Beach. So if somebody there still makes it easier to get on the bus or more accessible for you.
And it may be a way that we're making nice with them so that they're more interested in being engaged with us. That may be ridiculous, but maybe not, I don't know.
I don't know how it works. I just meant from the rider's perspective, you're still gonna be using the bus stop there.
Yeah, as riders, I think we're not always as aware of the intricacies of who's signed on to what.
Right, and in the 3 large cities, St. Pete Beach, Treasure Island, they both have service. They pay us separately, so they're really very similar to everybody else. And then in the case of Kennett City, it's a very small little town, and we have actually bus routes on all 4 sides of that rectangular city. But on their little stretch, only bus stops on the non-Kennett City side of the road. It's very weird. So if they got a gold star by hoping that people get across the street or something, that would be interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, I think. Do you all agree? I mean, I think let's not restrict it to the guidelines that we're not necessarily even aware of at this point, but rather
review on a case-by-case basis.
Case by case, yeah.
I think it's a good part of your discussion. I mean, to have had the discussion and decided that that was what you wanted to do is very valid. All right, so let's move on to the next one. Part of the submission needs to be a photograph and an exact location of the stop or transit center. And then this one says that PSTA is exempt from applying for Gold Star Award because all of our bus stops are amazing, right? But really, this was really to clarify that the purpose of this was to recognize businesses, municipalities. Now, that's not to say if we partner with a municipality and we help them with that they aren't eligible.
Yeah,
but I think the idea was, you know, like our 34th Street stops out there are pretty awesome with the smoke-free zone and there's restrooms. It's a pretty awesome stop, but we wouldn't necessarily, we could award ourselves a Gold Star Award, but that was, so that was clarification there. So that was it for the criteria. Are there any other specific criteria that you all wanted to see on here that we've missed? It's pretty subjective, like, you know, what things are important to you as an individual bus rider and you recognize as an outstanding stop, so. Having something to add.
Again,
okay.
not a stop, but an outstanding effort to make access,
Yes.
outstanding access or
Yes.
improved access. And again, it's not necessarily outstanding. That was one of the things we did talk about, I think, earlier, is that some of these things, I would argue, are the things that you all should have been doing all along. I mean, it's normal. And so I can't call it outstanding, but it's outstanding that some of these people in these older areas that have been developed forever are making an extra effort to try to make it accessible or safer for us.
It seems obsessed with things, a curb, a walk, a stop. I know you're making fun about getting people across the street, but the intangible idea of a program, a sign, I can picture someone invoking, putting in for a grant to help, I don't know, kids get to school, something that would encourage. And I love that word encourage, because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get people, give them a gold star for encouraging transit by making it easier, safer, and we're all just trying to blow on those embers. So I would include something for a word program or idea, or I don't know what we call these things, if we could.
No, I mean, I hear.
Is that something you maybe, it seems like that might be a little
esoteric,
difficult to,
Yeah,
but that
I
might be something you think about if you decide you want to have a higher level
And
or
I think if we
parallel.
modify, I think back to the original point that I think Cassandra was saying, is like maybe you want to try to get it going and then,
Baby
and then next
steps.
year you all can decide if that's what you want to expand it or you know, how, depending how it's.
And that gives you an opportunity to look for some of those and see if you can identify some that you would want to recognize.
So
Yeah.
just to sort of like follow on to that, let's, if you do decide to do that, to sort of take this step, go ahead and get it ready for a project level, then maybe in the next couple months, we bring you some complete streets presentations from cities, so you can see what cities are doing to make things more walkable and accessible, and how the complete streets movement is accommodating transit. And then that might help sort of inform that next step of how do you recognize the city for doing a good job.
The other question I have, by the way, on that too, is how far back do we want to look at it? What I'm saying is that new construction has to meet certain guidelines. Most of the municipalities, I think, now have it so that when you build an actual new building, then you do have to have it. But there are a couple of things that I'm thinking of as nominees where 2 years ago I badgered them enough that they put in a concrete walkway, and I would love to see them still get recognition for having done that. They did it just because they were being nice from an annoying customer. But how far back can we say that it was done right?
Yeah, you don't have any kind of date parameters on here. It's probably not a bad idea to include them, but that's up to you how far. Cassandra had a thought.
It's a good idea.
I think it's a great idea.
Parameters. So
yeah.
I know that you do a lot of applications for other programs. So like the TBRPC Future of the Region Award, it has to be a project that's been completed in the last year.
I think it's 5 years for
I 5 would
okay.
work.
Future of the Region.
Okay.
Some of the other things we've looked at are within 1 year, 18 months. It just kind of depends on their parameters. I mean, 5 years might be too far back, but I mean, 2 or 3.
2 or 3, yeah.
That will generate some buzz, too.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, because 2 of the ones that I would like to nominate were done, 3 years and 2 years respectively ago. So.
Well, I mean, if you get off at a bus stop one day and you go, wow, this is a great area. Look at this transit access.
Put this access, how great, yeah.
I mean, do you want to put a date parameter in there?
Yeah.
I mean, then you have to like figure out how long ago that was, or.
Well, I think to the point you want to make it, it has to have been within at least 5 years. I think more than 5 years is really getting a little bit out of line. I don't know if it's 3 years or whatever is the cutoff, but I think, more than 5 years is probably old history, but.
Well, and I would say too, since you're going to invite people to self-nominate, having that date range in there is probably kind of important,
Yeah.
And you all as regular riders know where this, that stop was 2 years ago, but it stands out in your mind. Those are the ones you really want to recognize anyway,
Or
So.
you could, like they do in, job ads, where there's minimum qualifications and then preferred. You could make it a little subjective.
How many people do you know, 39 years old, and they just missed the 40 under 40, right? Because the nomination comes around. It doesn't mean they're any less wonderful people.
It's so true.
Right?
Very true.
So how do we feel about, you guys want to 2 years, 3 years?
I do.
3 to the consensus?
5 max, I think 3 preferred, 5.
I mean, unless we get inundated with
Yeah.
10,000
you can-
requests, which I
There
doubt.
won't be.
So everybody's nodding at 3? We put 3 in there? Okay. You got that? Okay, great. So that was all of your criteria. If you think of anything else, that you forgot today, just reach out to Mary Ann and we can include it or bring it back for discussion.
Did we want to clean up the language on point number 3? So it wasn't that specific? You had mentioned it?
Yeah, I think that one probably does need some assistance. Number 3. I forgot that was up behind my head, I'm sorry. So number 3 says the key measure of a sidewalk or pedestrian path is a pedestrian clear zone, a continuous paved zone with at least 7 feet of vertical clearance and no obstructions of any sort.
I would take all the additional stuff, I would stop at a pedestrian clear zone, because that keeps it vague. What do you think?
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Agree.
pass the colon, we just delete the rest.
Right. In my notes, I just made it accessible for riders and / rider friendly.
Okay. Great. Okay, great. And then the other part of this is just the nomination form where you ask for the nominees' information, the location, the nominator's information, and then the second page of that is kind of where you outline the reasoning why you think it's a superior location, your photos, and then the instructions where everything gets submitted to Mary Ann. The only thing I can think you might want to change on here is somebody brought up multiple entities that could be nominated for one location. So we might need to figure out how to address that on the application. Is it attaching an additional sheet, maybe with additional nominee information? But Mary Ann can play around with that and make that work. Is there anything on this nomination form that you all feel is missing? Understanding that as they come in, they'll go to Mary Ann, she'll review them and check them against your criteria that you all have developed, and then bring them to you as a committee to review and take action on. Yes, ma'am.
Will this be web-based too? Or will it be physically piece of paper?
It could be. It could be. We have to work out the logistics of how somebody could attach a photo.
Yeah.
Yeah, how somebody could attach a photo. But, I mean, they could always submit it. We could figure out that.
Yeah.
We could figure that out, yeah.
It just might make it a little bit easier for somebody to nominate.
My project with Pinellas Park was surface obstruction of any sort. And we're not canceling that, are we? Because that was what happened. The dirt and the debris from under the bench was using up too much of the sidewalk space. and they cleaned it up because somebody from the city went to the business owner who didn't want to help, decided he better help. So that's definitely no surface obstruction of any sort, and there was.
Yeah, I think between bullets 2 and 3, you kind of, they're open enough that an improvement was made. Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, I think so.
I think, and also to Cindy's point, I think about if all of you have ideas in terms of ones you might nominate, try to apply it to this, okay? Because that's what I was thinking as I was going through this. There are like 3 places that I would like to apply this to, and how does this match that? I would love to hear if any of you find any other places that you think would be good nominations for this. Do exactly that, and let's try it. And if we need to modify the criteria to match the ones that we're encountering already, then so be it.
I have a question about how this will be distributed. I mean, I know we have extra copies here to fill out or to give to people, but will this be distributed to like municipalities, developers? How is this going to get out in a comprehensive way?
Well, it'll be you all will definitely have copies. The idea of putting it on the website then makes it super easy for people to access it. We will try to get media attention, and then Cassandra?
I think we'd give it to the Planners Advisory Committee at the MPO, and so that has representatives from every single municipality in Pinellas County, and they work with Forward Pinellas on land use issues, and so that is our one-stop shop for the start of it. And I think once we get a couple of local elected officials interested, the rest will be well aware of it. So certainly make our own board well aware of it. We have a number of city officials on our board.
I've got a question about the selection process. I don't know how this is going to catch on, but are we going to be picking who does that at the TRAC meetings? Are we going to have a limit? Are we going to have a dozen nominations that we're going to have to review in a TRAC meeting and get out of here at 6:30? I'm a little bit interested in the logistics of that.
Do you have a recommendation?
Not going over too many in one meeting.
If there's nominations, can they be emailed to us ahead of time to review?
If it gets too much.
Maybe staff, would staff be able to review and pick the top 3 or whatever for a month, or do we want to just not do it every month, or?
Why don't we say we'll bring you whatever we've got every quarter, and just see how many we've got, and then we can decide if you want how you want to do it. Does
I'll just
that sound
add,
reasonable? Just every quarter we'll see how many we've got.
If we get a ton, then we can have a special workshop maybe, so we don't take up too much time of a regular meeting. It depends on how many we get.
Yeah, I think we don't know yet. I don't know. Again, I don't know if the rest of you, if you have in your minds, are there any that come to your minds now? I don't know. Like I said, I've been thinking about this for a long time, so it's different. But we may not have a lot. I mean, we may have some, or we may have a lot. And if we have a lot, then your point is very valid.
I think I would rather have a subcommittee of you all, and have, say, like a Gold Star Award task force, and have 3 of you volunteer to go look at the applications, maybe visit the sites, and then make a recommendation to your own committee. Not that we couldn't do it. I mean, of course, staff could do that for you, but this is your gig.
Yeah.
I would love to see, at least at the beginning, to see, instead of establishing quarterly, see how many we get.
Right.
Yeah.
Because if we publish it in July and you start getting applications in August, then it's really November until you'd be awarding your first ones. And I don't think you want to wait that long. You want to have an early success. So you start promoting it in July and we get people that apply in August, or right away, you could have applications to you at your August meeting or your September meeting. And kind of see how many you get and kind of go from there. And
Well,
if there's a deluge, then we can.
You may have 2 or 3 of them already, because that's me. I'm already writing them out.
Gloria's already got hers written down.
Taking photos.
And Elizabeth is too. Okay. Well, thank you all so much for letting me facilitate this. I think it's going to be a great program, and I'm excited to see what you all come back with when you're ready for your first award. So Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Okay.
This is great. Can I just say that
Yes,
this is
ma'am.
great? We would never have done this without you. It's really exciting.
Well, and I honestly believe what we are doing is we are making Pinellas County a lot safer for a lot of people. You know, it's we as transit riders are automatically pedestrians. And so I think the idea, yeah, I'm gonna do that one next. And so it is really cool. It feels nice. Every time I go by one of those little walkways that I know I instigate, I'm like, you know, and I see other people, just pedestrians using them, I'm like, I've made their lives safer and they don't even know it. So we're doing that. Okay, our next item, I'm going to skip down to the other business because we want to go through the Flamingo card distribution.
Espresso is here. Espresso,
Okay.
welcome. Okay. Thank you all so much, whoever volunteered. Here are your cards. They're personalized. They have your picture on them. And if anyone has any questions,
Tell us-
Espresso is here.
Yeah, well, tell us again how we're doing using this
Okay.
and when we're starting to use it and the whole bit. Yeah, come and tell us about it.
So we already went and picked one up.
No, I hate that one.
That's not me.
I signed up,
I know, it
and
should
I
be,
went
it
to
should
the
be
office and
about
I have
25 pounds glass.
Anybody.
It's not even me.
Get a letter out, like they get a new one. If they want to get one, if they didn't get one, can they get one?
Yeah.
Espresso?
I think there was nine credits, so if there's any track members that want to be in the deployment testing, we can take your email addresses and get you in the testing.
Tell us
Wrong
again.
picture?
No, it's not.
Oh, it's not you, it actually isn't you.
No, it's not me in the picture.
All right, sorry, I'll fix it.
That's okay.
Okay. Well, hi, my name is Presto Zenku, and
I'm Michael Hansen.
so we have been working on Flamingo project, and we are in the beta testing phase, and we appreciate all of the help that TRAC members are doing for PSTA, because this will help to have successful Flamingo fairs in the entire region, not just the PSTA. So we appreciate the help of the current TRAC members who are participating in the beta testing, but like Michael said, we encourage all other TRAC members to apply, and we will make sure you get into the beta testing program. So we apologize for.
Yes, I'll make that change.
But thank you, Mary Ann. And we will have the card ready in the next TRAC meeting, or we can mail it to you.
Okay.
So does anybody has any question?
When do we
about-
start using these?
You can start using them immediately. I mean, you can create an account at flamingofairs.com, and you can add the card number to the account, so you log into your account, add the card number, and then you add value to the card.
If I've used my Flamingo card, but some of the buses are not recognizing it, is there a way for me to provide that feedback, and how would I do that?
Yeah, I would suggest you can email back. You should have got an email from a beta test email when you originally signed up for the program. You can email back that program.
Okay.
Or there's a place to provide feedback on the website too at flamingofairs.com.
You log into your account?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And today, for the members who have the cards, the step one is to go sign up. I guess you have registered, you have done step one. So then you have verified your email address. Now you have received the card, and then you log in into your account, you register your card, and then you add a payment type. You should have received directions on the email with the fake credit card information. You will add a payment type and then add stored value into your Flamingo card. And then from that point, you should be able to use the card on the bus.
So how do we choose, adding the value? So I'm not sure what that means.
When you log into your account, you'll add that payment type that was in the beta test email.
All right, the credit card
Yeah,
number that.
It was fives and ends in
Yes,
fours.
exactly.
It's like the
Okay, so
fake
that's
credit.
already in there. So is the
So-
value already in there?
No,
or-
basically you have to select a certain amount of value that you want to add to the card up to $250. So you can add up to $250 to your card. So you, just on the website, you can add value, and you just type in the amount you want to add, and then you purchase that amount of value to put on the card.
Once you do that, do you have to purchase a type of a pass, or is that automatic?
No, right now, there's no pass types available, I don't think, on the website. There's just stored value.
Okay.
So right now, you're gonna purchase stored value, and then you'll actually fair cap at certain types of passes as you earn those passes.
Okay.
So you're not receiving any funds from us, actual funds from us?
No.
This is all part of the testing, so
No.
the value is an imaginary number kind of
Yes.
thing? Thank you, that was what was confusing me, because I thought it was just automatically just sort of charging us whatever it needed to charge.
Do you have to keep adding value?
Yeah, yes, you'll have to keep adding value, or you can set up a method that automatically continues to add value once you hit a certain limit.
So you can add a custom amount. You'll see the choices once you go to click add value, add stored value. You can add $5, which will be good for one day, or you can add $25. Or you can, yes.
Do you have one? Do you have an account?
Yes, I do.
Okay, why don't you go online and show people on the screen? Like, can you add value to your own account right now?
Yes, of course.
Let's do
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do
that.
it.
Thank
Great.
you.
I didn't realize it was used, I knew about PSTA and Hart, but I didn't realize it was in Pasco, and that's really cool.
Pasco also
And,
now too?
Sarasota?
Sarasota, yeah.
Sarasota too.
Yeah, I just, when I turned the card around, that's really cool. This is cool.
Can we download the app yet?
Ah,
Or is it just
cool
through the
before.
website?
That's
Can we
the
download
right
the app
answer.
yet, or just through the website?
The app beta testing is not available yet.
App's not, okay, so it's got to be
It will be
website.
available soon.
So it's flamingofairs.com?
Yes.
What is the bus, which town, which county is
That's
that?
Hernando County.
Hernando.
That's Hernando, okay.
They have a bus system?
They
That's
have
so
the
funny.
bus.
The bus.
Oh, one.
Yeah, because I was.
It's capital
They don't run
the,
that much,
the Hernando Express,
Oh,
the bus,
No.
the.
Oh, I get it now.
It's like, what? Winter
Oh.
Haven Area Transit?
Oh, my God.
I'm not
I have
kidding.
multiple accounts. with
Oh, it's not
multiple apps.
discussed. Sarasota.
We waited out.
Pasco.
For how
Oh,
long?
okay.
That was the
Yes,
way
yes,
it-
yes. Scat, I knew, that's such a cool name.
No, I think that's the name of the, sure.
Did it let her know? Did the login fail?
It's in beta testing.
It's okay. There we go.
There you go.
Ta-da.
Oh, look at this
$242.
bus.
Wow.
Amazing when you don't have to pay.
Yeah, right.
Like Monopoly money.
So how do we choose how much we put in?
So, if you go here on my Flamingo card, so for now, the members who registered, but they didn't register their card, they will need to go to register the card, but this card is already registered. So you will go to add Flamingo card right there.
Okay.
You will add the card number, which is in the back of your Flamingo card. And then add the card, and then after you add the card,
You'll have the security code, so each card has a card number and a security code, and you can give the card a card nickname if you want. That's an optional field. So once you add the card, you'll come over here.
payment method.
Yep, you'll add in your payment method. So here's my test card. This is the same card number that we give out to all of you. So in here, you would add the payment method that you want to add to your account that you were emailed. Once you add the payment method, you'll go to your Flamingo cards, and you'll bring up the card that you have added, and you can drop down this little box right here on the right-hand side, this little arrow, and you can add value to the card.
Got it.
So you can add anywhere, I can only add, I guess, $7.25 to this card, because you can only have a maximum of $250. $50. So I'll choose $5 where I could add a custom amount. You'll add it to the cart, and once you add the store value to the cart, you'll go up and you'll view your shopping cart.
Oh.
And when you view your shopping cart, your default payment method will be in there, and you'll just submit to add to purchase the amount.
Now, Michael, when we use this, are we going to be able to go online and see as we're eating down the amount kind of thing, so that if we put in $200, then tomorrow it's going to be?
Yeah, you'll see. So I'm on this specific card, and I can look at the card history for this card.
Okay.
So if you go over to the right here, you can pick card history, and you can see where I tapped this card, I guess on the 10th, the Largo Transit Center, where it took off $2.25. So you'll see as you board, as you use the card.
And do all the buses now have the Flamingo readers on them?
There's all but 5 buses currently have readers on them.
I'm sorry, all
but 5 buses.
All but 5 buses.
And the trolleys don't yet.
That's fine, you just muscle.
Right.
Trolleys,
The Jolly Trolley
being
does not.
installed this
Yeah,
week.
today they started installation of the Jolly Trolley. So they should be installed this week.
What is the ad passes? Is that for the monthly passes or weekly passes?
Okay. This is for any type of promotional or, for example, hall pass. We have the summer pass or any passes that we, PSTA, would like to offer. But currently, if you click on PSTA, we don't have any active passes. But when this system starts,
Well, just a question, how will it work for somebody that commutes and would normally purchase a 31-day pass? How would that work with this?
very easy.
Yeah, we're implementing something called fare capping.
Okay.
So as you use your pass, as you use your pass and tap it, you'll earn passes. So our single fare is $2.25.
Right.
You'll tap twice in one day, you'll have $4.50 towards your daily cap. You'll tap one more time and it'll just take 50 cents off. So you'll cap that day at a day pass. Each time you ride after that, you won't pay any additional fare. And the same thing will happen for the month.
That day?
Yeah, for that day.
Okay.
Now, if you do that 14 times, you'll then cap at the $70 in a calendar month.
Okay.
So
14 days. 14 times?
So once you reach the $70 limit, it stops charging, basically. You ride for free for the rest of the days of the month.
So pretty much what you're saying is instead of, for me, for a monthly pass, instead of me buying one 70-month pass, I'm going to slowly spend $70 over 14 days.
Correct.
You can do that, or you can put the money up front.
14, because the next 15 through 31 are
okay, got
free.
it.
Right, but if you've got $10 to put on it, you can put $10, right? And you can ride, and that counts towards your cap. And if you've got, at the beginning of the month, you're like, I've got $30, I'm gonna put $30 on it, and you start building up your cap, and 2 weeks later, you say, I'm gonna have another $30, here's my other $30, right? So you don't have to lay out the entire monthly pass all at once,
It doesn't go back to one, it's still working on your 31 days.
as long as you're in that
It's
31
in
day,
that calendar
in
month.
that calendar month.
And that's
period.
Calendar month?
It's
Okay.
calendar month, as opposed to,
Right.
because I know when you activate a 31-day pass, it just activates the first day you use it, but that's not the way the Flamingo works on 31 days.
It would reset the first of the month.
First of the month.
And let's say you get paid on the 28th and you want to put your next month's pass on, right? You're riding on your month. You've already paid your month of March, and it's March 28th, and you put $30 on it. Nothing happens until April 1st.
It's just the first time when you start riding the bus from that day to the first of the month, and then it will always be first of the month if you were a regular rider. So it's just the first time. Right, Michael?
Is there anything on the bus that will tell you how much, or if you've run out? Or will it? You offer what?
Like if you don't pull your card out of the chip reader?
Yeah, we want to run fare readers, like how much value is left in the card, so.
For security reasons.
For security reasons. But I believe there is a low funds
And if there are no funds, it will tell you insufficient funds, then you have to pay with a different payment type of cash.
Right. But you have two, right? So you all have the Flamingo, and then you have the pass that Mary Ann is giving you. So carry both for a while.
Just in case.
And don't put $250 on it. Put, put 10. See how it works.
See how it works.
Right? Like, play with it. Break it. Right? I mean,
that's what beta testing is.
it's like it's beta try to like
break it.
Test the
Find
system.
problems.
Find the problems. Come back and tell us, hey, I did this and this happened, or I mean, this is an opportunity to sort of have some fun with it.
I've used it 3 times today and it's worked fine.
Right. And who should we send our comments to?
There's an email.
There's a little button on the website here called
Create a bug.
You can do it through there, or you could respond back to that email that you got when you signed up for the test.
Yeah.
They're gonna funnel the emails to HUD or PSTA, whoever the question pertains to, and our vendors.
And then periodically you will receive questionnaires from the same email, Flamingo Beta. So you will probably receive instructions on what they expect from you as a tester. Yes.
I know you were looking for about 200 beta testers. Have you gotten that far, or are you still looking for more people to beta test?
I think they received that many. There was 100 people in this first round of deployment testing.
For PSTA only, and 100 for HARD. But we will be having another round of testers, additional 100 testers will be added to the group.
So if anybody here didn't get it the first round, they can still get in to the beta test.
So we can now use this then to take the 300X to Tampa and then grab a bus in Tampa and.
Yeah, you can use this in Tampa or any of those 5 areas, just like you use it at PSTA.
IKEA trip.
IKEA trip. Any other questions? Yes, Elizabeth.
What about reduced fares? I don't see on the list.
For reduced fares, we have discounted cards. So we basically require registration for discounted cards. So basically, instead of we charging you $5 for daily, we will charge you whatever the discounted fare is. So the card is encoded itself to deduct less funds than the regular card. So if anybody in this group is eligible for a discounted card, please let Mary Ann know, and I will change the card to be discounted.
Other questions? Oh, Renee.
Will this Flamingo card take over student IDs? Instead of, can we still use the student IDs instead of just using the Flamingo card, or no? Because I was kind of told.
Would you have to register for a discount card for that, or like for elderly over 65?
Okay. I think she's using ID. I get on the bus.
You know, because that's a discount rate normally.
So we have contracts with different universities or colleges here at PSTA that we will provide a mobile app or a card for our UPass program. But if it's a student with a college that we don't have a contract, then with eligible student ID, once it's registered, the participant is registered, we will personalize the card with a picture in the back. So once you go on the bus driver will basically verify your picture in the back of the card, because we will do the verification up front here at PSTA.
I have 2 questions. One, what is the plan for some of our economically disadvantaged riders? How are they going to load their card if they don't have access to a computer?
Or a card.
Or a card?
Credit card, yeah.
Are they, how are there going to be computers available at Grand Central?
Yes, we each transit center will have a POS location available, person can go in person and load cash funds
Okay.
on the card.
And the other question is eventually gonna get to the point where there's gonna be something on my phone, so I don't have to carry the card. I can use like my, like when I pull up my other cards, I have my bank card, and then I have my Walgreens card, my Starbucks card, my Apple iTunes store. Is eventually a Flamingo card gonna be part of this?
You'll be able to download the new Flamingo app will has a QR code on it, so you'll
Right.
be able to just use that QR code. And underneath the readers, when you see the proximal readers,
Right.
there's a barcode reader underneath the reader.
Like the airport.
Underneath where you tap.
Like Dunkin'.
So you'll be able to use the app too.
Okay.
And eventually, we'll also be able to use Apple
Pay.
Apple Pay, and
Right.
Android Pay, and Samsung Pay as well.
And mobile app is coming soon, so the testers will be able to test the mobile app as well. But it's not ready yet, but
No, I
an
can
email
tell.
will
It's
go.
not ready
to-
yet.
Oh.
It's not ready. Thank you for that answer.
Will it have an auto load feature, so you're not gonna get up there and be, nope, no funds?
Yeah, I think there's a feature right here.
I thought I saw something on the
Yeah,
website. There you go,
and
yeah.
auto reload, so that as soon as you get down to a certain balance, sort of like your Sun Pass, you could
Yes,
Mhm.
yes.
automatically reload.
And then to answer your questions, we will have an IVR system that you can call and do auto load if you don't have access to it.
We're also going out to bid for a retail network too, so there'll be retail locations where you'll be able to go and add funds.
Sweet. So they can just take their card and go to like the window at Grand Central, and they'll add funds right there.
Yeah,
Or like partner out with CVS, yeah,
Yeah.
right, okay.
Oh, that's great. Awesome. This is gonna be cool.
Well, are we supposed to like come back and report next month on what we've experienced, or, I mean, how are you gathering information from, besides the actual usage? I mean,
Well,
the emails,
Yes, so that the beta testers email that you have received instructions, I believe instructions will go out soon to tell you what they would like you to report, because that's the vendor who's basically coordinating this testing phase for now. But you're more than welcome, and I will be gladly to participate here in the next TRAC meeting and to hear the feedback myself, to see how everything is going, because we are heavily involved in this project and we really want to see it succeed. So that would be great if we could separate 10, 15 minutes of the time and discuss Flamingo.
I agree, yeah, and it's, I think, I know for me, I learn from what the other members ask and say. I mean, if we have that on our agenda next time for a discussion, I would like to see as well.
Excellent, thank you.
Any other questions? Well, thank you very much. Thank you for giving us all that information, and we look forward to seeing how that all works together. Okay, the last item basically is member comments. Are there any? Yes, Renee, go ahead.
I brought up at the last meeting about the bus stop on the number 11 at my school. Do you know any updates on that? Because I read the 34 now, so I can get a little more exercise. See how it's going on that one, on the bus stop. Cause like I said, I've been catching the 34 instead of the 11.
That was the one that you had the pictures of, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we gave that to amenities, so let me check. Yeah, let me check.
Maybe got some other questions.
Okay.
Any other member comments?
I would just like to say a
Yes.
special thank you. On the 300X, they had some interviews and surveys in the morning. I see Juan over there. Juan and Nicole were amazing. I know that some people said there were even some people that weren't very nice on the thing. And both of them were just cool, calm, and collected. And so thank you for that.
All right, well then, I will adjourn the meeting. Our next meeting will be on May 15th. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry.
For those of you who want to stay for the workshop, our public engagement team is going to be facilitating that. Bob and Juan and Nicole trying to see what your next strategic initiative will be.
Right. And that, we'll start that in 5 minutes, I think, so that if anyone wants to take a break before. And yeah, everyone is welcome to attend that, and,
I have a list here of Richard, Tim, Corey, Tim, Dave, Elizabeth, Mark, and Sue are gonna stay. But everyone's welcome.
Thanks.
Oh, okay.
He's there, you go pick up the kid, babysit the kid.
I'm not sure. I then.
Sorry.
Sorry about the picture. Oh, that's okay. I thought you were like, wait a minute.
Oh, where do we send it? Oh, we had it.
Free ride.
I'll get it, I'll get it.
How do you know?
Says yes.
Okay.
And I said,
And I'll get it right.
Okay, don't worry
I
about
know.
it.
And then I said,